Well, the question is asked here by Aiden Daniels. Aiden, shave your knuckles for justice. I still think Trump will win. What do you guys think?
Oh, man, I had this conversation with my dad earlier today. I think it's about 50-50 right now, and it changes for me by the day. But if I had to lean one way, I would lean slightly Trump right now. And the reason I say that is because, I mean, let me put it this way. If the election happened right now, right this very minute, I do think that Trump would lose by a little bit. Now, by the way, a slight disclaimer about me. I refuse to use the words Biden wins because this is not an election between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. This is an election between Donald Trump versus himself and whether or not Donald Trump will actually beat himself. That's what this election is. That's just what it is. So I think that if the election happened tonight, Donald Trump would beat himself and lose. But there's still a couple months, and I feel like there's going to be a few things that fall into place that Trump will be able to sell this idea that we're at least on a better track. And another thing you need to keep in mind, so much of the electorate in this country, they respond to what is perceived as strength. Whether it's real or not doesn't matter. They just respond to what they perceive as strength. So when you have Joe Biden saying he's not going to debate Donald Trump, he won't, get on a stage virtually or otherwise with Donald Trump. He's just going to stay in his basement. And you have Donald Trump still talking the game that Donald Trump talks. Of course, it's all nonsense, but he'll still talk that game. There's going to be more people in this country than I think a lot of folks realize that are just going to say, we're going to stick with the guy we got right now. And they're going to stick with the incumbent. So, I think it's 50-50, but I'm leaning towards Trump right now. I think he's going to.
And I want to say, too, that the thing about Biden saying he's not going to debate Trump, I think that's the Democratic establishment who's around Biden, knowing, going back to his cognitive decline, that he'll get creamed in a debate because he might just blank out and stare in the camera for 2 minutes or forget where he's at or that's a reality.
Well, they said it. I mean, they said as much.
Yeah.
Like that one guy was just like, we don't want to have a debate. We don't want to do Trump any favors. And it's just, how do you not realize how messed up it is? You just said that about your candidate.
Yeah.
We don't want to do the opponent any favors.
Yeah. Who would say that if they had the strong candidate?
Mm-hmm.
Is LeBron James saying he doesn't want to play in the playoffs? I mean, like, no, I don't want to do the Clippers any favors, so we're going to sit this one out. No, like if you had your best candidate, you'd be like, of course I want my candidate's going to whip President Trump's ass. Like, but that's the reality they know is because Joe Biden is not going to have Bernie Sanders going, my dear friend Joe Biden, my good friend Joe Biden. He's going to have Trump, who's publicly said, oh, Biden looks like he's losing it. He looks like he has dementia. Trump will just say all kinds of crazy nonsense, and Biden will have nothing. And Trump will call out the corruption of the Democratic Party better than Bernie did.
Yeah, I mean, well, and Trump will really highlight just all the decline of Biden to the nth degree. I mean, in 2016, those debates, which I actually think Donald Trump had an incredibly poor showing, just strictly from a debate standpoint.
Right.
I actually think Hillary out-debated him.
Yeah.
Just, like if I was, I used to teach debate at a community college. If I had to give one person a grade, I would have to give her a higher grade than him. Neither of them would have gotten above a C, but, she would have gotten the higher grade. But there was no policy talk at all in any of those three debates. I mean, I would try to keep track of it just in my head, and it was just like a matter of like minutes where there was actual policy talk. It was just like personal attack nonsense. For three debates. I mean, it was beyond embarrassing. I mean, it's people around the world were probably watching that in horror. And I think that this time around, it's going to be even worse because he has an easier target now with Joe Biden.
Oh, yeah. And he can hold Joe Biden to the fire on his failed policies, which the thing that and the thing you hold Donald Trump accountable for is all of his failed campaign promises. But those failed campaign promises are things that are good for both parties. Like, he's kept us in all these wars. He gave a $1.5 trillion tax break to his billionaire buddies. Like, the Democrats are good with all those things because that's what they do. I mean, you know, they're going to argue about ridiculous nonsense like, you know, if this debate does happen, which I never thought it would. Once it was clear Biden was they're giving it, you know, they rigged everything for Biden. I was like, well, they're never going to have a debate because he can't. And if they were to have a debate, though, it would just be this sort of very structured. They'll argue about Obamacare, like whether we should get rid of that or not. And it's like, oh, and so then Biden can say, I saved Obamacare. I saved Roe v. Wade. I saved all these things that like are so right wing anyway. There's no new policies that are going to make anybody's lives better. It's just, oh, whoosh, we averted disaster in a second Trump term. That's the only thing they got. So, yeah,
who do you think? Who, if you had to, who's your prediction like right now in this current moment?
Well, I agree with you that if it were to happen right now, I think because of the way the pandemic is so bad and people's money and Mnuchin doesn't want to give people an extra $600, I think if the election were to today, Biden would probably, well, like you say, Trump would beat himself. And, but there's 2 months. We're 2 months away. 3 months away, rather.
I mean, who's counting? It's it's going to be such a great night no matter what, you know?
It's so amazing. And the lead up to it's going to be fantastic. There's not going to be any more riots or protests or federal troops snatching people up in unmarked vans. It'll be great. Yeah, I think the next 3 months, it's going to be, I think it's going to be completely up for grabs. And I said this a while ago that they're going to try to not have Trump's going to figure out a way to not have this election if it looks like he's going to lose. And he's already talking about that. It's rigged. I'm not going to do it.
Well, see, I think he did that to just distract everybody from all the other fumbles he had that particular day. Because, I mean, the day that happened, you know, what else was going on in the news? First of all, here's something that barely anybody touched on. Donald Trump has been talking a good game about what he wants to give the American people. It's a bunch of fluff. It's a bunch of BS, but he's been talking that good game. So then he quickly tried to cover it up because once he realized this is not going to happen, he doesn't want to come off looking weak. So once he's saying, I'm going to do this, and it doesn't happen because Mitch McConnell will never let that happen, he'll look weak. Another thing that happened that particular day was, you know, or around that time, rather, he wasn't at John Lewis's funeral. And speaking of death, Herman Cain died after attending Trump's Tulsa rally. So there was a lot of stuff he wanted the media to be focused on instead of all those other things. And he puts out that tweet about delaying the election. What does MSNBC, CNN, and Fox News just grab onto and hold on to for that entire news cycle? Trump's tweet about delaying the election.
That's a good point. Those are great points, man. Those are really great points. Yeah, you murdered Cain. That's what they should have been talking about. But instead, it's another Trump says something, a crazy tweet. They just love whatever that he does that.
He can't actually do that. And then they didn't even really bother explaining like why he can't do that. Like they didn't even go into the civics of it all. They just said, look at him.
Right. Because there's some Democrats who are like, well, I don't know, maybe suspending the election and just going to martial law is okay anyway. We're okay with it. I mean, Obama sent federal troops at Occupy, at Standing Rock, at Baltimore. I mean, like, so we're okay kind of with what's going on. All right. Shave your knuckles for justice. Let's like, share, and subscribe. Hit the bell notification button and the subscribe button, even if you've done it before, because they're unsubscribing, many of you, every day. Watch the ads all the way through. If you click skip ad, I don't get paid. Also, support us at patreon.com/Graham-Elwood or rockfin.com/Graham-Elwood. Rockfin.com is a blockchain cryptocurrency platform. All my videos are on Rockfin ad-free. Thanks for watching.